Good morning, wherever you are. My name is Will Drzymski, and you are listening to the Worship Reformation Podcast, the podcast where we discuss the theology and application of the classical or traditional style of Reformed congregational worship. Thank you for joining us. A couple years ago, shortly after our family was first introduced to psalm singing, I was with some friends that I'd met at a conference, and they showed me an incredible little app that has quite frankly changed the lives of our family and probably a couple of other families, many other families, I would imagine. Um, and it's called Sing Your Part. Now, today we are honored to have Isaiah Holt on the podcast with us. Isaiah has taken this app from tiny little backwoods app to something that a lot more people have heard of. He's been integral in that process. So Isaiah, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited to talk about everything that this podcast is about, worship reformation and recovering something that we shouldn't have lost in the first place. But yeah.
Absolutely. So you are you started out helping with this app. How many years ago has it been?
Yeah, so I first started using this app around 2021 when it was first made public. And I was a member of a church that was very new to Reformed theology, to traditional music, and so we needed something like Sing Your Part very much. And so when we found it, we were very high users of it. We had higher usership than a lot of churches that were a lot bigger than us. But yeah, it started in 2021, and I didn't meet Michael though until it must have been 2023 here in Boise, Idaho, where both of us live now.
Cool. So what is Sing Your Part? What is this amazing app?
Yeah, it's so Sing Your Part is a software tool that is designed to enable Christian leaders to make their church's music available to everyone in their congregation, regardless of their congregation's musicality or musical education, right? Whether it is helping a family to sing in their home for the first time without it being super awkward, all the way to helping people learn their individual harmony parts, learning how to sing a bass part separate from the melody. Uh, Michael Hewitt, my business partner, has developed really the best tool that's out there. First and foremost, we're an accessibility app, right? But we're an accessibility app. If music is a building, right? We right now we're training our children to walk up the stairs and to get into that building, right? But a lot of us we're in wheelchairs in the parking lot still, and we can't get up those stairs. And really, Michael built an access ramp on the side of the building so that even without having been trained in music, we can get a good grasp of it. We can participate in it through an accessibility app like the one that Michael has built, which is Sing Your Part, which can be downloaded on iPhones, Androids, and then also accessible on the web at singyourpart.app.
Cool. Yeah, I don't think there's an app that exists out there that's quite this helpful in and specifically targeting let's help you get from functionally musically illiterate to being able to actively participate in congregational worship and family worship and all of that. There's a lot of apps where it's like, read me this sheet of music or something like that. But to actually um, go from a musical training standpoint, and just not necessarily from a full course, but like, I want to sing this song. Help me learn how to sing this song, sort of perspective. It seems to be very helpful in that regard.
Yeah, it really is the first when there's plenty of church music technology, right? Church music is a big category, but everyone that's developing technology for church music is developing it for leadership. The difference with Sing Your Part when you say I don't think there's an app like this, the reason that you can say that is true about a church music app is we're pretty specifically not designing it for leadership. We're designing it so leadership can help everybody else, right? Because music is a language, and it's a language that those that are musically educated are well versed in. But for those of us that don't, the only way to learn language, especially without that formal education, is through immersion. right? It's an immersion app where every day our households are listening to church music, and then they're doing church music. And that's why it's different than something like Spotify too, right? Because you can create playlists and say, hey, this is our church's music. These are the songs we sing. But that's all designed to be listened to. We're developing software that incites people to sing, because at church, the congregation is the chief instrument, right? The instrument that matters most, and so it's an instrument that so we need that immersion if we're going to participate. Without being able to sight read music, you need to hear it a lot, and then you need to do it a lot, and then you'll be ready to do it all together on Sunday.
Right. And you don't have to have any sort of musical skill starting out to do this sort of thing. I love the fact that this is an app that's geared, like you said, towards congregants, not towards, it's not something that the worship leader and the praise band, finds really fun, and everybody else kind of just sings along or listens along to that. This is something that is you can put directly into the hands of each one of your congregants so that they can sing as a body in a coherent fashion on Sunday mornings or any other time of the week. Because it's really, how it plays out is each family during every day of the week ends up listening to it. Like I or using it, I should say, not listening to it. So I'll use it when I'm driving to work or whenever. My siblings use it a lot, just as part of their homeschool routine, to learn the bass part to such and such a song or whatnot. So
Mhm.
when you first discovered this app, what was your thought process when you found this? How did it
Yeah.
start?
And this is how most people will find the app. The answer is I didn't find it. My pastor told me, "Hey, we're going to start doing this, and if you want to have a fighting chance at participating, you should download this." And so that's what we did. We started in small groups. It was actually kind of in the heat of COVID, so our church was like kind of floundering on whether or not we were going to be meeting in person, but this pastor was having people meet in his home a lot of the time, regardless of whatever laws were going in place. And that's when we kind of started. We had he bought hymnals, and we downloaded the app. And that was actually also just how we sang through the hymnal was by playing the app. We had a Bluetooth speaker, and willing participants. The most musically educated among us was my pastor, and the extent of his musical education was high school choir. He never studied music theory, anything like that. So we had none of us had musical experience. And as you talked about before, neither does the founder. Neither does Michael Hewitt. He would have told you he was tone deaf a few years before developing the app, which is why we're developing it. Both of us are so passionate about what we're building, because if we don't build it, we won't sing. If we're not the ones, we're building it for ourselves first and foremost, and then our bet in terms of starting this business is that there's plenty of us out there, that if we build it for ourselves, there's that we're the majority in our generation, that need to recover something, which is musical literacy, especially in church music.
Yeah, yep. I didn't know that. I found that very interesting. What was the style that you would have been singing before COVID at your church? Like, was this a big transition for a lot of people? That you went out and bought hymn books and said, okay, we're going to do it like this now. What was that like?
Yeah, and the church, even while we were doing it, while we were using the app, it was a small group of us. It was a small group. One of the pastors of the church, there's several pastors in that church. One of the pastors started a small group saying, "Hey, we're going to do this as a group." But at church, we were still doing um, a very contemporary worship, multiple vocalists, electric guitars, drums, full bands, and it really was, people sang, but the for the most part, it was contemporary worship music, and so there was, we were the congregation is secondary in those kinds of scenarios, often, not always the case, but often secondary. One of the terms that I use a lot is with that when you have loud music coming from the front and it's coming over people. We're churching at people when we do that a lot of the time, right? Whereas with a congregational, when the congregation raises its voice, and it's coming from there, then we're churching together, right? And so the we were largely being churched at during worship, but there, I mean, it wasn't a perceived problem, and uh, yeah, but that's how I would describe our worship before that.
Cool. Are you kind of in a different spot now? Has that kind of helped that church become more literate overall?
Yes, yeah. So I've since moved from that town, so I don't live there anymore. But now I can tell you that church, that pastor that was doing small groups, he's there, and they're only doing hymns,
Hmm.
and psalms, and it's all traditional, but they actually still don't have trained pianists, and so they're using the app, which terrifies us, because this big church that from the front they're using their speaker system to play the sing your part app, and that's how people are learning that church. So before the service starts, he hosts a psalm sing. So the church starts at 10, let's say at 9 a.m. Everyone's showing up to start practicing the song that they're about to sing, just because they are so. Everyone there it is so new to everyone, and there's not anyone there that can even, like, they all, if they don't all do it together, it's all gonna fall. And but they have, it's created a super strong culture. And even I've had now guys that were in that church. It's in San Diego, that church, and so heavy military presence. And when guys get stationed in other places, they almost always reach out to me at that point, and they start small groups in their churches, right? Because they're going, a lot of times they're at churches that aren't doing that kind of robust congregational worship, and so they start small groups. And so there's all these little small groups all over that military guys have started, because they saw how capable everyone is with this app in their hands at that church, which is San Diego Reformed Church in San Diego there.
Sure. That is awesome. That kind of also again flips on its head our supposition that worship and singing is something that the worship band is responsible for. No, it's something that the congregation is responsible for. And when you have the congregation showing up early to practice singing, I love that. I love that. Because it's always been, well, the worship team gets together, Wednesday night and it gets together before church happens. Um, and then but that kind of shows you the thought process of who's responsible ultimately for this. Um, is it the worship band or is it the people who show up? It's the people who show up. So
Yeah, absolutely.
cool. Well, would you be interested in sharing your screen and kind of showing us how this app works? Because
Absolutely.
we're all dying to know how this happens.
Right. So it's really very simple, and it has to be simple. One of our big mantras when we're developing, we know that we've messed up. If we break this mantra, are you able to see my screen here?
Yep.
One of our big things is we want to make sure that everybody in our churches are two taps away from the church's music, right? And so when someone opens the app, they're here in the church tab, right? They're going to see I'm at the King's Congregation here in Meridian, Idaho, which is right outside of Boise, Idaho. So I'm in the King's Congregation, and I see what our hymn of the month is. I see all the songs that we're singing this Sunday. I see the songs that we sang last Sunday. When we have a psalm sing towards the end of this month, that'll be on here. The heartbeat of the music of the church is right there. Even if someone comes and visits for the first time, I want them to scan a QR code in your church bulletin. And now on Monday, when they wake up, those songs for this coming Sunday are right there, right? Everyone knows what the heartbeat of the music of the church is. And in addition to that, the whole body of the music of the church is available to everyone. So up here, this our hymnal section in the church tab, when you open that up, you've got a combination of one. So my church owns the treasury of psalms and hymns, which is a great hymnal. And so they have access to all the treasure of psalms and hymns, but they are also there's songs that we do that are outside of that hymnal that my church uploads. So, for example, "If You Love Me" is a fun song. It was created by our pastor, Alan Burrow. And so when you click on that now, you see the sheet music. So they uploaded the sheet music, and then we generate the music for it, right? Um, Now, as we and actually, correction there. "If You Love Me" is not for my pastor, but there is several here that Alan did. But as you open up a song, so let's look at a song that we're doing this Sunday. Um, hmm, let's
For
look
those of
at.
us, for those of
Sorry,
us
what's that?
listening on podcast form, we do have a YouTube video of this as well. But if that's helpful, we are Isaiah is sharing his screen with us so we can see exactly how this app works. But if you're interested, that's on you can find that on worshipreformation.com as well. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. No, you're good. I should have been more thoughtful about that. So when we open up a song, let's go ahead and do "Rejoice the Lord is King." A lot of people will be familiar with this tune, even if they haven't seen this version of it. So when you open up a song, you've got several volume sliders available here. There's several sliders. This is our player page. And most of the time, when I am doing this myself at home, I hook it up to a Bluetooth speaker, and then I just press play. And when I do, this is what that sounds like. So it is. You can hear that, correct? Well,
I cannot. No, no.
no, I can't
Just
either.
imagine it. I'm
It's. I
almost
think
ready to
it's.
sing it myself.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah. So that's good. And so when you press play, it's going to be playing all four parts, right? But now when I'm trying to learn my bass part, what I do first is I isolate that bass part. So when I press play, it is only playing the bass line. So when I press play here, I can follow and I can see my bass part there. Now, then after I'm more familiar with my bass part, I can increase the tenor, the alto, the soprano parts, and it's now it's a little bit louder. So this is like when someone has a trained ear, they're able to look at a choir and hear the bass part, right? I can't do that. I'm probably never going to be able to do that. But with a tool like this, I can have the effects of a trained ear. When I practice the song like this, it's going to be easier for me to play to sing my part, even with those other parts around me, right? Being surrounded by people that are singing soprano and tenor and all this. You can also change the tempo. So whenever someone opens it up at their church, I always want them to open it up where the tempo is going to be the same as where it is. So your church leaders are choosing what tempo it's going to be playing at, and then you can also manipulate that. So for harder songs, like we are going to be doing. In my church, we do a couple pieces from Handel's Messiah, and when I'm first learning those, I slow that way down, just so I can learn how to read the music, just so I can track it. But yeah, that really is the heart of it. When a church subscribes to Sing Your Part, everyone in the church has access to all of the church's music. And yeah, as pastors, as leaders, tell us what songs are most important. One of the things that we're doing, actually, just let me do this real fast. As people are telling us what songs are most important, one of the things that we're doing is we're generating these family worship plans every day. So inside of the Today tab, we are providing between 1 and 3 songs a day that we're saying, hey, if you listen to these, if you sing to these, you're going to be better for it. And so today on a Wednesday, this is all just generated algorithmically based on what our pastors are putting into the liturgy planner. So today at my dinner table, we're going to be doing "He Will Rejoice Over You" as singing, and "How Sweet and Awful Is the Place." And as we go through and as we play these are getting checked off, and we're building these streets, right? So we are um, it's an accountability tool. Also, I don't want someone to have to come home and like go through a big list and deciding what to do. It's just if people go and they're doing their family worship plans every day, then they are going to be better for us. It's all about reducing the amount of time that is required to become more familiar with the music. That's how we're an accessibility tool. We want people to be able to spend 5, 10, 15 minutes a day inside of our app and to feel leaps and bounds more prepared for Sunday worship every week. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah. And a lot of the pushback you get from people who don't want to go over to the traditional style because it's difficult. They say, well, that would take way too much time. I would have to, devote so much time this week to learning all of this stuff. And, it really doesn't, I mean, what it takes is stamina and diligence and the ability to say every day it's going to be 5 minutes. And
Mhm.
whether that happens in the car on my way to work, back home, um, or wherever you're at, that's what I'm doing. 5 minutes every day. And that really helps
Mhm.
quite a bit in this sort of thing.
Mhm.
I was going to ask you as well, how long, from an average standpoint, and maybe you can include yourself as an example, um, from a just to kind of give us an idea, how long does it take? Say you want to start learning a tenor part to a song, and it's an average length song, we'll say, average difficulty level. What's kind of the amount of how many listens through do you think it might take to learn that part?
Good question. And it depends on a few different factors. If uh, there's a lot of factors to be considered there, and I guess the thing is with the way that we're building this, we have more plans in the future to be more of an educational tool. And educational tools, they do think in that kind of way, right? Where it is how many times do I have to, how many reps, 10,000 hours, and that now you're an expert, right? That kind of a thing. And we do intend to have educational aspects to our app in the future. We will have a learn tab in 2026, right, where people are able to tackle more educational aspects of singing church music. But that question gets a little bit away from what our mission is. We're an accessibility tool for the purpose of building culture, right? A singing culture. So when my family is, and all families are different in terms of where they're at. I have a four-year old, a 2-year old, and a 6-month old, right? The I learn a song probably after we play it 60 times. But that's mostly because my 2-year old daughter just wants to dance to it. And my son wants to listen to the Son of God Goes Forth to War and be slaying dragons in his imagination with his sword and his shield, right? And so much of it is just like it is uh, familiarity, learning. When you learn a language, this is the Kodai method of musical education, which is that you need to you treat music like a language, and to learn a language, you have to hear it a lot first. You have to hear it a lot. After you start hearing it a lot, then you do start doing it, right? So even if people aren't taking this, and because one of the things I appreciate about your family so much is you guys have been so uh diligent and in like we're going to learn this, right? Like you are using it as an educational tool, and it can be that. But for so many other families, it's just about creating a culture in that house around church music, right? Building familiarity. My 2-year old, she can't even pronounce most things right, but she's humming in church, she's vocalizing in church. I'd say she learned that song, right? We listened to it however many times. But then when it comes to learning harmony parts, it does require more. Um, if I'm really focused, and I'm not a musical person, I'm not even very good at matching pitch. I'd say in most cases, I have to sing through a song 6 times or so to learn it. There is every week I try to at least have 3 songs that coming up Sunday that I do learn my bass part for, that I know I'm going to be able to sing my bass part for, even if I have to hold my toddler and my 6-month old. I'm gonna like I've got this right. It's down pat, and I'd say 6 times, so it's pretty much once a day that those ones I'm singing. But so much of learning songs, at least for my stage of life where my family is just like getting my 2-year old to be more engaged when that song comes in on Sunday, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so it's more of an establishing a singing culture within your family.
Yeah,
And it would necessarily be, all right, let's gather around the schoolhouse sort of thing and sit down
yeah,
and learn.
yeah. So
It's
many people do use it as so many people do use it as that though. So it's like when you
yeah.
ask that question, it's like I feel unqualified to answer because that's not what this tool is for me. But it is that for so many other people, which is why the simplicity of it is so great, because it's different things to different people, depending on their stage of life. So it's a good question. I'm not qualified to answer it because of what the tool is for me right now.
Sure, sure. I totally understand. I mean, like you said, it's kind of the once you have that singing culture, or I shouldn't say that. Once you're striving for a singing culture, it becomes easier. Once you are sitting in a stew pot full of other people singing to the
Mhm,
traditional style, once you are singing it every Sunday morning, once you hear it in the car,
mhm,
or whatnot, once that is going through your head on a frequent basis, um, the rest of it suddenly becomes easier. Because you're mentally calibrated for that sort of singing. Whereas if you're listening to Cheese all day,
mhm.
and your mind's in some other world, it's going to be very difficult to come into this and to be able to sing this well. So, yeah, good stuff. I was wondering as well how has this affected, and you kind of dug in a little bit to it. How has this affected your family, your personal musical literacy, how your family has been able to participate in congregational worship in church?
Yeah, so it's had a tremendous impact. But like I said, so my wife has become a really amazing singer because of it. She was a very strong soprano singer, in large part because of this app. She didn't grow up singing; she was never in choirs or anything, but she's developed a strong skill for it. And for myself, there are many songs, like I said, where I'd say we do typically 7 songs on a Sunday. There are at least 3 of those I'm singing my bass part for. Uh, which I mean, growing up, even a lot of songs I just kind of de facto opted out of, right? I was a hands in pockets guy during worship, growing up a lot because songs were just unattainable, outside of my reach, right? And so um, it's had tremendous impact for both of us. But the biggest thing has been my kids. Um, we so often we've kind of, especially in in the reformed church culture, we've already kind of accepted that, like, everyone knows that we should be reading our Bibles, right? Everyone knows that we should be teaching our kids, right, doing some level of family worship depending on ages and stuff like that. um, but too often we think that singing is kind of the separate, or else this special category that's only for some people, that's only for musical people, people that have the pianos and know how to use them in their home. But I think singing is easier than when it comes to catechizing kids. Singing is a lot easier than going through books. For my 4 and my 2-year old, they are so often just humming church music, and then my 4-year old starting to understand the words. He was just this our hymn of the month, "He will rejoice over you with singing." um, my, uh, my 4-year old has started saying those words. He's talking about God, and how God takes care of him because he knows songs. We memorize songs so much better than just prose by itself, and so it's been a massive tool for the spiritual formation of my kids, even at these early ages. There is going to be, regardless of anything, there is going to be scripture locked in their heart because of our family worship. And our family worship is only happening because of this tool. Um, I would be out of my depth entirely. Without a tool like this, we wouldn't be able to have the breadth that we have. We wouldn't be able to go as deep as we do into music as a family. And so it's had tremendous impact on the raising of our kids.
And this tool is not really it's not a crutch. It's not keeping you in one spot. It's helping you get there. So
Yeah.
eventually, you'd be able to theoretically use or lead family worship adequately without the app, but there's always new things that you can still keep learning. you
Yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah.
and with
Yeah,
with
and there's several songs. There's several songs now that are just whether they're just in our like household liturgy throughout the day, at lunchtime or at bedtime, or songs that just when we're doing family worship. There's so many songs that I don't have to we don't turn the app on for because we just know, right? It is just known, so we're able to go a cappella. Um, and that wouldn't that I was never going to get that song a cappella without a tool like this. That just it wasn't. It's not in the wheelhouse. And so, yeah, it's not a crutch. It's a tool. That would be like saying that having a pianist in the house, someone that's able to play the piano and lead worship is a crutch. Like, no, that's just it's the thing. It's
Yep.
the thing we're supposed to do. Yeah.
Yep. Yep, absolutely. And really we were, God created us to sing,
Hmm.
And so it's not necessarily for those people who don't really enjoy it or can't do it. It's
Hmm.
something that like reading scripture and taking in God's word, we should also be producing something as a
Hmm.
result. Um,
Hmm.
and singing is a huge part of being able to do that as a
Hmm.
as a Christian. So what would you say to someone who says, "I am tone deaf. This is impossible.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
There's no way I can learn how to sing. I'll try. I can holler, but I'm never gonna sing."
Sure. Yeah, number one, you're probably wrong. And number two, the all that singing is, all that matching pitch is a connection between the voice coming out of our mouth, what our ear is hearing, and what our brain is understanding, right? We intend to in early 2026, we want to start a project to where there will be a learn tab in the app. And one of the first things that'll be in that learn tab is actually just a game, a pitch matching game, where we will give a first thing we're going to do is we're going to have tell someone to hum as low as they can, hum as high as they can, and that's going to give us a range of audio frequency that they're capable of achieving. Maybe the range is like this, right? And they just don't even like, and that's all right. Whatever range we have, the goal of the game will be to give a feedback note, right? So hold a note for them, and you have them match it just through humming, right? So whether they start much lower, then we're there. I want them to visually see as they get closer to it, and then once they have it, right, and then hold that, and then we are going to bring that down a little bit, and they need to follow it, right, and going up. It's a mental muscle, pitch matching. There are exceptions to that. There's hearing loss and these kinds of things. That's not what my technology is going to focus on, right? But for most people, a, a practical mental skill that can be developed. Um, and so it starts with the games like that. But yeah, the answer is you just have to spend time on that right now, if that makes sense. It's time, it's effort. But even if someone is playing our game that we're working on developing right now, if someone's playing that game in the app for 5 minutes a day, I will be shocked if they're not feeling real results. Uh, as they go forward. Because I my ability to match pitch has increased substantially, and it's without even such a specified game tool like that. Just from feedback and being near other men and stuff like that. And so it can be done. And it just means that you don't start right with the singing, but we start with that skill set, right? If you're going to be able, making a jump shot is different than playing basketball, right? And if you don't know how to shoot a basketball, don't start with pickup, right? Start by shooting free throws. Is the idea there? So it can be done, but it takes time, and we're developing even specialized tools for that kind of scenario, which is probably the most extreme that most people will face as a barrier to singing church music.
Cool, cool. That I'm looking forward to seeing that come out because that'll be cool. There's a lot of people who you say sing this, and then they sing something kind of like that, but it's a little bit lower.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
if they were
Mhm.
to have
Mhm.
something that immediately tells them, no, 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 a little bit higher, Bring your voice
Yeah,
up,
yeah, yeah. Uh-huh,
flat,
uh-huh,
bring your
uh-huh.
voice up. It'll, I think that would be helpful. So that's all happening in 2026. What, kind of along the same lines, what would you like to see this app capable of in the near or distant future?
Yeah. So inside of what we'll be calling the Learn tab, we talked a little bit about the game, the pitch matching game, but we'll also be rendering our own music. So right now, when you open up a song, you have a static PDF, the PDF that was uploaded or else given to us by the publisher. But in the future, we'll be generating that music ourselves in HTML, and so that means that you can say, "Hey, I just want to look at the bass part." Right now, you don't have uh, this PDF that has all these notes. We're going to give you the notes on the bass clef with the lyrics and the corresponding syllables and all this, right? But then you wouldn't have those other things. So you've been able to being able to isolate what that looks like, and also just generally, let's say it's normal sheet music. We have a lot of people that project a PDF onto their TV for family worship, and we want them to be able to do that, to have all four parts there, and we want to be able to have red dots on like what syllable and what we're doing, right? One of the questions that I get when someone is coming from a question I just got recently, uh, it's a funny question, but it's a really insightful one actually. When you're trying to learn how to sing for the first time and all you hear is piano, one of the questions I get asked a lot is, "Yeah, but how do I know what it's supposed to sound like?" Which is a funny question because it sounds like that, right? But with your voice. And that's a complicated concept. And what people are typically saying is that they're saying, I'm hearing, piano, but the piano doesn't mean anything to them in terms of connecting to the syllables, connecting to the words. And so right now the answer is kind of like, well, I mean, just hum it first. Just learn the song by humming it, right? Hum along to it, and then you can start adding words later. But when we can utilize more of our senses, when I'm able to say, hey, here's where we're at in the song, right? And they're holding this full note for this length of time, then people will know even without any experience at all the question of how am I supposed to know what it sounds like, you're able to also use your eyes. You're able to use more senses to be the instrument yourself, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yep. Have you started? This is something that I would like you guys to do eventually, just from my little corner of the woods. As I'm looking across, say that this song might not be in the hymnals that are currently on Sing Your Part, or I just made my own hymnal, or I made my own arrangement, or something like that. Is it searchable by tune name? Do you have your song
Mhm.
searchable by tune name yet?
Not yet, not yet.
Okay, okay.
It will be, and actually, when we start rendering our own music, one of the byproducts of that is we will have tunes. Even we'll have because a song is just the specific combination of music and poetry, right? You've got those two things. You have words and with certain meter, and you have music, right, with its harmonies. And those things will be cataloged also separately. So we even want you to be able to pick even a song, and there's several poetries that go with that, right? And so being able to even mix and match when we're rendering ourselves to a function, you could be creating your own hymnal inside of the app, right? But generating songs by mixing existing poetry with with existing music. And so yeah, it'll be a much sought after byproduct of that same project.
Awesome, awesome. Kind of broadly across the country, as you've been going to conferences and meeting with people who use the app or who are about to use the app, what's kind of the reach, the feedback that you've seen from churches across the country who have been using this or seeing this used within their congregation?
Yeah, one of the big things that people tell me all the time is that they've been looking for this for decades. It just hasn't existed. Um, because if you know church, because so church leaders, church music leaders know church music, right? And even when I went over the app, like what we've done is not overly complicated, right? It has its difficulties in terms of we're trying to teach a machine how to understand the music, and music isn't written for machines; it's written for humans. It's art, and so there comes with technical. There's a lot of technical difficulties there, but even when I was deciding, because we were when we decided to start working on this full time, I did the market research of like, is this viable, right? Because I'm not going to quit. We're not going to quit our jobs and take this risk unless there's the potential return on that time investment. And as I looked at it, so many churches are. I was shocked no one did this 10 years ago. And people have been looking for it for longer than that even. And so um, the feedback from my leaders is usually like, finally, like it's took way too long for somebody to do this. But even then, when people are coming into it, and when it's not even because those are people that perceived a problem, right? And our business provides a solution, but a lot of people don't even perceive a problem. And then when they come into these things, they uh, for some people uh, actually was just talking to someone this weekend that seeing my app created a problem for him because now he's like, wait, why are we just singing from the front? Like, why isn't everybody doing this, right? And so, but it feels unattainable without a tool like this. It's not technically, um, but it's certainly inconvenient, right? Music costs, no matter music, music is expensive. But it's not the kind of expensive that you can just throw a lot of money at it and now you can afford it as a people, right? It costs a lot of time. And this is a tool that people can just do small increments of time and have that benefit from it. And so before that, I mean, music lessons, let alone for a whole congregation, because it's not being taught in our schools anymore. So it's just like, what are we supposed to do? There's no perceived problem because it's like the solution is so unattainable. Um, yeah, so for some people, it's about half and half. Especially for music leaders, it's like, okay, finally someone is scratching this itch that I've been feeling for so many decades. And then the other side is, oh my gosh, we have a problem that I didn't even know about. Yeah.
I like that because from a lot of people's perspectives, the average person, they'll go to church, they'll see the band doing the stuff, and this is just church. Like they haven't known anything else. This modern style of worship has been around for like, I don't know, since the 80s, 90s, something like that is when
Hmm.
a lot of people kind of started making the shift. And so
Hmm.
for a younger generation or for even for an older generation who hasn't really thought about it, who we just don't know there's a problem in the first place. But once you realize there's a problem, you realize you got a really big problem on your hands. Because we used to, like you said, we used to teach music in schools. We used to uh, execute music in church as a congregation. We
Hmm.
used to just be literate and within that framework. And once we once we lost the value, or once we stopped seeing the value of that and shifted over to something completely different, and since it was so easy to do that, we there's really been it's been difficult to see there's a problem in the first place.
Hmm. Hmm.
But once we do it, you kind of realize how difficult it's going to be to climb back up the mountain. Um, but thankfully to you guys, yeah, it's becoming a lot more attainable.
Yeah, and like you say there, um, it's not the church's job to teach people music, right? Like it's the role of education. And now the church should have a very big role in the education of its children, right? Christian kids should be getting a Christian education, no matter what that looks like. But so for the same reason that even in secular circles, for the same reason that you see this resurgence in classical education, it's because we feel it's the same perceived problem, right? We're missing things more fundamental than what we're sacrificing them for, right? We are um, so focused on specializations in college, like engineering or um, or certain science fields, right? Like we're so focused on that being the goal, specialization, whereas there's more fundamental human things like singing, which is so important. It's a part of the quadrivium in classical education. You won't find classic educators that aren't teaching music throughout the child's whole academic career, and it's a more basic thing. It makes better people. And so it's the same perceived, we're a solution born out of the same perceived problem that just culturally we know, we're not good at articulating it, but it's felt. And so we're changing even in the state of Idaho, the amount of kids that aren't in public schools anymore, but they are in charter schools, they are in classical academies, whether they're Christian or otherwise. It's a real cultural thing that's happening, and we're born out of the same perceived problem.
Yeah. This is exciting for people who have the app already or who are going to get it. What's your advice to them? What are some ways that you can maximize this app to get the most to get the
Yeah,
most? There's a lot there that you could do.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. If you are in a church that doesn't do this if you're in music that does do this kind of church, show this to your pastor. Your church is going to subscribe. You're going to have access to all of the church's music. It's not going to cost you anything. It's going to be a huge boon, not only for you, but for everyone in your church. If your church has a goal of improving or else establishing a strong singing culture, tell them about it. Give me 20 minutes with them. You'll be on the app next week, right? But if you're in a church that does not promote a very high or else deep music culture, start a small group. Start it as a book study, right? It doesn't even have to be necessarily music related, but as a part of that, while you have something that is accepted, like your book study, you're also saying, hey, we're going to learn one song a month, right? If you want to be really bold with it, learn one song in parts in a month, right? And start with the doxology. Open the doxology. You can start a small group inside of the app. There's a lot of ways to do that. You reach out to us. We're going to get your small group in that app, and you can invite it. You can curate an event calendar, and we want you to get people singing. There is a bug that people will catch when they do music that they can do apart from anything else. When people can sing the doxology confidently, they start to do it.
Yeah.
When people can do it, they start to do it because it's good. When people can sing a psalm, when people can sing Psalm 23 and not just have to listen to it, they will do it, and they'll do it with their children, and they'll have real felt effects of that. So start a small group, and if it doesn't start with small groups, start with family worship, right? Commit to singing songs as a family, regardless of ages. You don't have to learn the harmony parts. Just get familiar with singing. Make singing more normal, just as normal as Bible reading, as any of the other Christian things that we know are so important. It's so integral. And so the answer of how to get the most out of it, just start using it. Whether it's with your family, better yet, start a small group. Better yet, tell your pastor to come talk to me. Because even I have churches that are still doing full worship bands that are using the app. Because they can upload their modern music and I generate it, right? That music, that new music. There is music underneath. There is parts underneath. We're just hiding it from everybody. But you can even take more modern music, and there is these people are musicians that are making it, and they're writing it usually in 3-part harmony nowadays. But I can make that available to everybody, and so um, at least start singing with your family. Uh, Better yet, start a small group. Better yet, let me talk to your pastor.
There we go. Yeah. And I like there's features like for each one of those. You got family subscriptions, you got group
Yes.
subscriptions, you've got
Mhm.
ones for churches. I think it'd be cool, and if you find yourself in a position where your church is not on board, they sing contemporary songs, there's not really another church in town that you can get access to that does like this sort of worship, just start small, get good at it, and then present the results. Have somebody over for supper and show them, hey, we can sing in parts now. Isn't this cool? And
Mhm.
it's easy,
Yeah,
with something like this. So
yeah,
like that.
yeah.
What's the individual cost if someone wants to buy the app? What's the or
Mhm.
subscription? What's the cost for that?
Yeah, so on our website, it's $4 a month. $4 a month or $40 a year. And then a household, a family, however many members are in that household, have access to all of our publicly published music. Most churches, if you're a church leader listening to this, most churches are around $600 to $900 a year, and everyone has access to all the church's music. All of my copyright payouts, all my royalties that I'm paying are coming out of that. There's no extra cost for that. There's different levels of pricing. But if you're listening to this, you can subscribe on our website, singyourpart.app/subscribe. You can subscribe and you can access. I think we published 8 or 9 hymnals now. I've got someone starting to work for us on Saturday. We've got 3 more hymnals that we're going to be uploading. Yeah, we're constantly publishing new music as we get the permissions to do so. And then also, when a church subscribes, they can upload any music that they want into the app, so long as they have the license to distribute it through any kind of licensor. And so, yeah, that's what that looks like. Our whole goal is to make this extremely accessible. We're going to, if we succeed as a business, it's going to be because we have a large amount of small churches that want to establish this kind of singing culture. So our price is very attainable. We don't want that to be a barrier, but that means that we need a lot of churches
Yeah.
to make it happen. But that's okay. America's full of churches. And we've got churches now from Fairbanks, Alaska to southern Tasmania, Australia. We're very spread out. Yeah, it's small churches utilizing tools like this that's going to allow us to keep on building it and making it better.
That's awesome. And that is an extraordinarily cheap price if you start thinking about how
Yeah.
many hymnal resources you have within this app. Like a hymnal, if you were to buy a
Mhm.
hymnal, which I recommend, buy a hymnal, buy a Psalter hymnal.
Mhm.
But with this app, you get access to pretty much every Psalter hymnal you can think of.
Mhm.
Um, for the less than the price of a cup of coffee a month. Uh, I bought one recently. It was $7. Um, so this is $4 a month, $40 a year. You're not. It's yeah. This is. What are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? So
Yeah.
any other? And this is you can get this at singyourpart.com slash. No, you use it.
Seniorpart.com. You can see what it is that we're building. Seniorpart.app. You can start testing it out for yourself. Seniorpart.app/subscribe. But that's all navigable from inside there. Download us on the Apple Store. You can download the app on the Google Store. If you do download us on Apple, we do charge more because Apple takes 15% right off the top. So it does cost more to subscribe on an iOS device. But if you do it on the web browser, we charge you $4 a month or $40 a year, and then when you sign in on your iPhone, you do have access to it from that. So we can bypass the evil empire, and nothing I said was illegal. You're allowed to tell people that. I just can't link it inside the app. So yeah, subscribe on our website and then download it on your iPhone, and you will be singing hymns, psalms, and spiritual songs with your family at dinner tonight.
That is awesome. Well, folks, there are no prerequisites to this. You know what to do. Uh, Isaiah, thank you very much for coming on the podcast with us. You guys have been an extraordinary blessing to our family, and I think I can speak for a lot of other families and churches when I say that as well. So, for the rest of y'all, download the Sing Your Part app today. It's worth every penny, and there are not many pennies that it takes to get this thing. So go download the app. You will not regret it. And until next time, sing heartily, sing daily, and sing psalms. This is Worship Reformation.
Attend our armies to the fight and be their guardian God. In vain shall numerous powers unite against thy lifted rod. Our troops beneath thy guiding hand shall gain a glad renown. 'Tis God who makes the feeble stand and treads the mighty down.